back to the channel. So we've got the R8 and this is the damage. Basically that gap by the side of the headlight and the trim kind of broken, it come unstuck. So basically the Audi R8 that we've done needed some repairs doing, and these are the repairs, pretty much plastic welding and kind of fixing back a bracket that kind of held the bumper back together. As you can see, we kind of had to make a part of it. We used kind of a metal and we just melted it into the plastic to give it its strength, and so a lot of it was just plastic welding and making sure it was all good, and we actually kind of done some plastic filler work on this side of the bumper, which you can clearly see. So I'll leave it there, guys, and I hope you enjoy the video.
So we're going to be doing the Audi R8 front bumper. So we've pretty much got it already. We just need to clean it all off. Surprisingly, you don't actually see a lot of these bumpers. So like all in here, all in this particular section is just one big grille. So you painting this bumper is there's not a lot to paint, if I'm being honest. So like whereas some of the Audis, you'll see kind of all this section, the grills are actually stuck on. So they actually have tape all the way around here, and they literally kind of come to these edges. But what we've actually done is this whole section was kind of moving about and it wasn't supported. So we've actually plastic welded it all in here. And what we've done is we actually heat metal into the plastic. So it makes it nice and strong. You can't really see too much, but basically you can't buy these brackets on their own. So you have to buy the whole bumper. So we've kind of made our own kind of bracket there, and we put some glue there and the same in here. And then we've also plastic welded just in here because that was all broken. Other than that, obviously just the usual stone chips that we've done, and where the guy had hit it, there's a repair on this corner so that's nice and smooth now. Where it was a bit kind of all over the place. The guy hit a deer. So, I mean, surprised the deer didn't write the car off, to be honest. But yeah, he obviously done well there with a deer. Right, so I haven't got my head cam for the video. So what we're going to do is we're going to shoot it on this is my phone, on the iPhone. And what it'll be is you guys will just get kind of a view of me painting this thing. What we're going to do is we're going to wet it, just because there's a few rub throughs on it. So kind of just like, you've got a few rub throughs, there, and then yeah, kind of a few this side. So we'll get it cleaned off. What we're going to do is we'll wet it. We give the wet and wet 15 minutes to kind of dry off, and then yeah, we can start basing it up. So let's go. What we're going to do is, because we use wet and wet, as you can see, this is a 1.8. Camera's not going to catch that. But we use a 1.8 normally for primer. For wet and wet, we use a 1.4 setup. So we have a completely different setup for the gun. And what we're going to do is different air cap. Different needle, and this part is different as well. So we completely changed the gun setup just to spray wet and wet, and the reason for that is sometimes obviously wet and wet, it's a little bit thinner than your normal primer. So if you try and kind of do that with a 1.8, you can sometimes walk into trouble. So only because you can either put it on too heavy, or you can possibly get runs and stuff like that. So ideally 1.8 is too much, so we use a 1.4, new end, new needle, screw that back in. I don't normally adjust this. This basically adjusts the amount of fluid that goes out of the gun and onto the panel. Usually that's absolutely fine. I don't often adjust that much at all. So make sure that's nice and tight, and a different air cap. So I don't know if you can see whether it'll catch it on that, but it basically just tells you at the top there. The camera's just not going to pick it up. But yeah, so it's a 1.4. Always make sure the holes are unblocked, and then you're good to go. So 1.4 RP. I usually spray a little bit of thinner just through it. Make sure the gun works all good. Make sure you look after your other bits. And then what we usually do is we come into the office. As you can see, we've got our wall of Sata cups. So I'm going to mix up with a little cup, because these actually hold 300 ml, and the bumper's actually quite small. It is quite a small bumper, so usually I try and get the wet and wet done within one coat if I can. If not, it'll be 2 coats. So that's the filter. It goes straight into the lid. That way we can mix straight into the pot, and it's getting filtered straight away. So with a pot, you get a little cap when you don't drop it, and that cap just clips on the bottom there. So to mix up the wet and wet, we use little scales on the side. And we're going to do it in kind of a beigey kind of colour. As you can hear, the fan for the boot's already on, so I've already turned that on. Basically, any dust or whatever will just get sucked to the back there. We've got some water on the floor just to kind of dampen the floor, so if there is any dust, it's normally off of my shoes where I'm walking around the workshop and stuff. My shoes obviously get dusty, so on the soles with the water down, there won't be any dust being kicked about. Sometimes what you'll see is you'll actually see people wearing like dust protectors around their feet. It works, you know, nothing wrong with that. Obviously it just costs money to do it, whereas you can just chuck a little bit of water on the floor. And it basically just, it's more so any dust that's on your bottom of your sole, for me I find it just kind of traps it in the water on the floor. So with a primer, the wet and wet is recommended at 3 to 1, so that's 3 parts primer to 1 part hardener, and then they recommend 30% thinner. I go just over the 30%, so probably around 32, if you want to be accurate. But yeah, that's just personal preference. I just prefer it slightly thinner. And all this does is it's more like if you're ever unsure on painting something, like with like any edges or anything like that, just wet and wet or seal it. It basically works as a sealer. So anything that's underneath, you're kind of sealing in. It's just crucial that you take your wet and wet serious, because if you don't take the wet and wet serious, you can cause yourself problems, because it needs to be clean. Because if you get your wet and wet and it's dirty and you get dust in it and there's all sorts of crap, obviously you're painting on top of that. So the idea of wet and wet is that you don't need to sand this stuff down, you're literally laying it down as a sealer. So it's like a barrier really, so that you're basically painting onto a nice fresh surface. So this is what really we do with new panels. But I mean, the repairs are done, the bumper's primed. There isn't anything wrong with doing this at all. Absolutely no reason not to. So that's all mixed up. And again, Sata spray gun, Sata RPS cup, that, done. The reason I like this combination with these cups is the cleanup. I don't have to clean up a pot. I can literally unscrew this pot and it can go in the bin, or if there's paint I can save it for another job, or failing that I can actually literally just throw it away, and then what I can do is literally just squirt through my gun, so I don't have to spend ages cleaning up the gun, the pot or anything like that. It's just a lot cleaner, a lot quicker, and it just makes sense. It just makes sense to do it. The pots, they don't work out that dear. Some people moan about it, but when you work out what your time is, time you spend cleaning out a pot and getting dirty, probably using another pair of gloves. Yeah, it's just not for me. Just rather use a disposable pot. It's just easier. Life is easier, and I'm all about that. If you can make something easier by buying a product that doesn't cost a fortune, yeah, I'm all over that. Right, so just gonna get my mask up and we'll go in and we'll spray up. Right, okay guys, so got the mask on. You can probably hear the air coming through. Got the air fed on. Let's get the sealer down. It's all been cleaned off, so it's panel wipe and tack rag. Always make sure you tack your jobs off just to be clean. So let's get some sealer on. I like to spray my sealer at 1.8. 1.8 I spray sealer at. So that's the first coat of sealer down. We're looking pretty good. I'm going to let that dry out, see if I can see any kind of the rub throughs or anything still, and go from there really. So as you can see, lays down really well, lays down yeah, really nice. So that should give us the perfect conditions for spraying, and yeah, you can have a look at this because I've still got plenty of sealer left. I might put another coat on, so we'll let that dry out, and yeah, we'll have a look. Okay guys, so we're going to put a second coat of sealer on, and then after that we give it kind of 10-15 minutes, let it flash off, and then we'll hit it with the base coat. So let's hit it again, last coat of sealer. guys, so that's the second coat of sealer. So pretty much done what's in the pot, a little bit left. It's gone on really nice, it's gone on really clean, which is the main thing. We'll let that dry now, and we'll come back, and then I'll just put a base coat on. It's clean, which is the main thing. That's always what you want, is clean sealer. Alright, so again, in here, this bumper's been painted before, and whoever took it off, literally animals, absolute animals. So whoever took it off, there's a lot of foam that sticks around the edge. So again, you don't see any of that, which is why I haven't fixed it, because you don't see it. But yeah, if you're ever taking one of these off, you don't need to do that. That's a bit harsh. So we're just out here cleaning the primer gun, or the sealer gun that we just used. And all I can say is always clean up after yourself, you know. There's nothing worse than having to go back to a spray gun or something and it's covered in crap, it's dirty. I mean, this is just a wet on wet setup, so every time I go to use it, I want to make sure it's clean. It doesn't take long, you know. Clean up on these spray guns doesn't take long at all. I know people are busy and we've all got stuff to do, but you know, and if you borrow a gun, from a fellow painter or anything like that, just make sure you clean it out, because there's nothing worse than getting a spray gun back and it being dirty and God, what have I got in there? Great. Don't know what that is. Find out in a minute. So the best thing is I don't know whether you got another job to be doing or where I'm all suited up. I kind of stay suited up, so I don't move on to another job. I'm here, I'm getting this Audi done. We only have one spray booth, so I'm not going to be getting undressed and going to do something else, but while I have the time, you might as well just make sure it's all clean. And then when you come to put your other setup back in for primer, my 1.8 setup, I just clean it up. Perfect opportunity to make sure it's nice and clean. So again, it doesn't take long. And that's the thing with this, but it doesn't have to take long, you know. Some people, spray guns, I mean, I used to work somewhere and their primer gun was just absolutely disgusting. So that's why I actually bought this. So this is my own primer gun, because where I worked, I was just fed up of getting my hands dirty, always cleaning it. I was always the one to clean it, or if I went to use it, it was always blocked, and that's just not cool, you know, it really ain't. So ended up with my own primer gun for that very reason. And I think these Sata, this is a 100B. They're not that dear, I think they're about 250 quid, something like that, maybe plus that. Which for a gun, I mean, people don't really take primer seriously, but primer for me is the start of a perfect job, you know. You need the basics, right? But you know, some people just can't justify it for whatever reason. I'll never understand that one, but that's other people, you know. It is what it is. So there you go, all clean, all back in its box. that can now go away, and we'll get the base coat done, ready, and yeah, we'll get going. Brief now, guys. We've let the primer flash off and do its thing. I just want to show you, this is how it looks. So this is the mipa 4:1. It is a high build primer, but you can use it as a wet. But just look at how smooth that is. Just so smooth, and that's what you want. So there's not one bit of dirt in this. So we've got the perfect base for the job. So, my first Audi R8 bumper. Some people crack under pressure, some people love it, some people thrive on it. Luckily, I'm one of them that thrive on it. So for me to get an Audi R8 bumper in here, this is phenomenal, you know. I'm loving every moment of this. So, yeah, let's crack on, let's get it done. Sata 5000. And this is called Ibis White. Ibis White is quite a common colour. I've painted many Audis Ibis White, so nothing new really. Let's go. So that's the first coat of base on. Chances are we're going to do 2 or 3 coats. So it's really important down this edge you get paint on, because when the bumper's on the car you can actually see down that edge and it goes down the side of the headlight. So you must get paint down there. Otherwise you're going to look an idiot. Alright, it's that simple. So when you're painting, know what is visible, so you know what you're going to see when it's on the car. That way you know you have to put paint there. Some people might just spray this bumper like a normal bumper and might not think that you see that. Well, you do. So need paint. So I'll give this a couple of minutes and we'll come back. Okay guys, so changed the camera angle slightly because I just had a look, and I know you guys see my back quite a lot in that. Unfortunately with this camera you're going to a certain degree, so bear with me, it is what it is. I do apologise for getting the kind of the head cam. So I changed the angle slightly, hopefully this will be a bit better for you. Hopefully you're enjoying it as much as I am. So this is all dry, first coat's done. Let's get a second coat on, and yeah, we'll go from there. That's the second coat done. Chances are this looks like it's probably going to be covered. So we'll have a look after and make a decision whether we put another coat on or not. So yeah, let's let it dry off and we'll check it with a light. Okay, so it looks good guys, so what we're going to do is we're literally just going to clear this now. So yeah, let's get some clear mixed up and go. Right, base coat's all dry, checked, good to roll. So we're using a Roberlo clear, let's get it cleared. this is quite a fast dry and clear, so what we'll do is we'll give that probably a couple of minutes at most, and we'll put our second coat on. Just a little tip for you, if you ever got clear left in the gun, squeeze the pop the lid down, and if you watch, you'll see it get sucked down. And that's how you empty your gun out, properly anyway. Probably going to mix up just a tiny little bit more, because after that first coat I've got less than half of the clear that I had, so chances are I use slightly more on the second coat anyway. So yeah, just going to mix up a little bit more clear, just so I don't run out halfway through that. Literally put in like 75 mil. Not a great deal, but that's pretty much roughly what I used on the first coat, slightly more. So we should have plenty, should have enough. Let's hit it again. something like this, normally I'd say about maybe doing a third coat. But you know, I think I'm trying to save some weight so that the thing's a bit quick still. Yeah, I think we're done. It looks alright, I'm pretty happy with it. Obviously the whole thing gets wet sanded and polished as well when it's on the car. So there's plenty of clear on there. It's come out really clean. I'm more happy that it's come out clean than anything. So let's have a look. That's the Sata 3000 Chip Foods edition. Now this clear actually flows out a bit, so kind of in 5-10 minutes it'll flow out and it'll actually look a bit nicer, but it looks nice. It's super wet everywhere it needs to be. Obviously a lot of this bumper is covered up. A lot of this bumper is just grills, bits of plastic. So yeah, I'm really happy with this. There you go. AUDI R8 bumper painted. Nice. Can't wait to get back on the car.
Okay, so ladies and gents, guys and girls, this is obviously the AUDI R8 all back together. And I just want to say what a phenomenal outcome, what an awesome job it was for us to have in the shop. For me, this was quite a special thing. Kind of, I've never worked on one of these before, and yeah, you know, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I've absolutely loved it. So I hope you guys have enjoyed it as much as I have. And yeah, you know, it's fantastic for us to have a car like this in our workshop. So onwards and upwards, and we keep going, we keep building, and we keep getting stronger, and hopefully attract more of these kind of work. So yeah, hope you enjoyed that one, guys. Thank you.